And we're back. Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us live on X. Of course, you can listen to the Stripe Show podcast, all of our audio platforms. And you want to look at our faces and some of the things that we look at here. We got some video for you here today. Go to my YouTube channel at Travis Fulton Golf. Thank you for being here. The man joins me every Tuesday. Had a big week last week at Read the Line. Mr. Keith Stewart, you made some money last week. Well done, my friend.
We did. We came close in the outright market. We had a third and a fifth. Fitz had an interesting Sunday, but just cleaned up in placements. Live betting is the way, man. If you're not paying attention to Read the Line all weekend, we went 7 for 9 in live bets. Placements. I like, Brian Harmon picking him up on Friday for a top 10. And then, he absolutely blitzed the weekend and a bunch of head-to-heads. So it was good. It was good. Let's get into it because seems like Hawaii is good for us.
Yeah, it is. Hawaii is good. And, all weekend, as I watched Chris Kirk start to climb the leaderboard and get up there, and when I saw him grab the lead, I was like, Chris Kirk, he knows how to win. People forget, before Chris took some time away from golf back in 2019, 2020 to work on himself. He quit drinking and then he came back and he won again last year. And then he wins here again, big event in Hawaii. That's 6 wins now on the PGA Tour. You know how many Xander Schauffele has? 7.
Oh boy.
All right. Your boy Xander sniffed the lead.
Stop
sniffed
it.
The lead
all right.
on going into Sunday and went backwards. More on that later. But not Chris Kirk. And the word that the term that you used last week was win equity. That was something you're going to be paying attention to. And Chris Kirk has win equity. 6 wins now on the PGA Tour. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, this week alone, when we get into the board, there's going to be a lot of names that are going to keep coming up. And do they have win equity? And we didn't talk about Chris. He was 200 to whatever, but little did we know he was playing golf lefty, and that was his secret to his success. I don't know. But I love Chris because I had him at Honda last year, which is now Cognizant. But that was the first RTL outright of the year last year at 30-1, and he won the playoff over Cole. And, a lot of people will point towards him putting the ball in the water, going for the par 5 and 2 on the 72nd hole and say, oh, geez, he couldn't handle the pressure. But then he came back and birdied the first playoff hole. He was going to win that thing in regulation over Cole. And you got to say to yourself, all right, so maybe there is something to this guy. And, those Georgia Bulldogs, man, those guys are impressive on the golf course. Not always the biggest names, but do you notice how I wonder what those practices were like back in the day, man? Because think about some of the guys that were on those teams: Kisner, Todd, Kirk, Bubba. They all win. They all win.
They do,
right? And then comparatively speaking, you might go across state to like a Georgia Tech or an Oklahoma State, and is Oklahoma State getting as many wins out of the Ricky Fowlers and those guys of the world? I know Victor is hot right now, but man, Georgia, something was going on there because even their middle tier PGA Tour players, Keith Mitchell, these guys win.
Keith Mitchell, yep.
They win, and it's impressive. And kudos to Chris Kirk, man. I was on a show this morning on Sports Grid, and they were talking about can Siwoo repeat? And I said, if anyone's going to repeat this week or do back-to-back, it's probably going to be Kirk.
Yep. I agree.
Jeez. Yeah,
I agree
for sure. So
no, he's such a great guy. He's someone that if you hang around Chris Kirk at all, you can't help to cheer for the guy. I got to know him a little bit 3 or 4 years ago. He was kind enough when he was making his comeback. He was one of my first guests when I was first starting out on the Stripe Show podcast, and he was very open about his journey to sobriety, the things that he needed to change, his outlook on life, what his family meant to him, the whole bit, and where golf fit into that. Just a complete recalculation of Chris Kirk, the man. And he's out there. I know Brendan Todd. I don't know if you mentioned that name's his best friend. They spend a lot of time together. He's a Georgia Bulldog, and he has just found his game. He's just found his game. And when I saw him on the leaderboard, I was like, this guy is not going to go backwards. You're going to have to go get him because he is so steady. And I agree. I think as we get into the board this week, I have Chris Kirk circled. This is a guy that's played well here at Waialae. He finished third for crying out loud last year. He's got a second back in 2021. I don't think he's wear himself out. I have no doubt Chris Kirk won that event, went back to his hotel room, just had himself a something to eat, probably watched a movie and went to bed, got his rest, and he's going to be showing up at Waialae like, hey, guys, I'm here and let's go again. I mean, I have no doubt Chris Kirk will be ready to go to try to get his back-to-back win to start the season.
Hey, you mentioned Brendan Todd. I mean, I think he had the TV highlight and the social media clip of the weekend for sure. When he hit that ball out of bounds in the final round on 14, and within 3 seconds, he had the driver thrown, and the marshal or the volunteer had the arm up out of bounds, right off the tee on the drivable par 4, and then the next picture they go back to Todd, and he's like on the picking up 2 pieces of his driver off the ground. I'm like, oh man, this guy's like a couple shots off the lead. He's got 2 par 5s to go. He's one of the shortest hitters on the PGA Tour, straight, mind you, and he's a great player. But like 3 wood's not going to get you there, Brendan. It's like, don't go club, dude. Do not go club.
All right, you ready to make the journey over to Honolulu?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sony Open, Waialae Country Club. Today's podcast brought to you by About Golf Simulators. Waialae Country Club, par 70, 7,050 yards. What a contrast from last week, where you had the big fairways, and now you go to Waialae and the fairways tighten up a little bit. I look at this course. I watch these courses closely. I watch a lot of golf this time of year. I mean, it's tough to beat. Late night, Thursday, Friday, crawl in bed.
Nice. It's nice.
Turn that on, sun, the ocean. I mean, it's one of my favorites. It really is. These 2 weeks in watching golf on TV. So, I look at this course. I went back to my notes. And I'll sprinkle a few things in here, and then I'll give you the floor on what kind of player we're looking for. Of course, Siwoo, you mentioned he won here in 2023. Hideki's got a win here in 22. And then a couple live guys, Kevin Na in 21. I was on that, by the way. I hit that one. Cameron Smith in 2020.
Nice.
And so it's shorter. We know that. It's tighter. It doesn't feel like length's going to be near the advantage as we know it is at Kapalua. Approach game, a lot of mid to short irons around the greens. I think we could push it down a little bit, not too challenging here. And then, of course, putting, you're going to have to be able to deal with these Bermuda greens. Still a little undulation, not as fast as maybe as we'll see in the States as we get into the summer and whatnot. But the rough can be a little challenging here in places. It feels like, you miss the fairway. You certainly got to read the lies here. It can be hit and miss. You can get some flyers, those kinds of things. But nonetheless, you look at the scores, 18 under, 23 under, 21 under. We need someone that can keep it in front of them. Give me some approach game. And my God, just like last week, Chris Kirk, who led the field in putting, you got to make some putts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think average strokes gained by the last 10 winners there, 6+ on the field with the flat stick. So Bermuda grass putter, you got to be able to get after it with that. It's interesting. This comes up every year when we go to Waialae, and we're talking about a very classically designed golf course by Seth Rayner back in 1929. The PGA Tour has been here since 1965, only host of the Sony Open. So there's a lot of tradition and history here, and it's the second most predictive course on the PGA Tour. Now, I start to think about things like that. When you make a statement like that, it's pretty powerful stuff because, number one, the most predictive course is Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters. So, like, how does this Sony Open become the next? I mean, it's not Riviera. It's not Muirfield Village. No, it's here. Mm-hmm. And when I see stuff like that and I'm starting to research and handicap a tournament, that instantly makes me say, okay, there's definitely the trend is your friend. The old betting statement. And we got to look at some trends alongside the fact that, you got to you got to be able to approach the greens from 125 to 175. You've got to be good with the putter on Bermuda grass. You've got to be straight off the tee to keep it between the palm trees. A lot of dogleg lefts down the stretch. I mean, I get all that stuff. But why is it that 16 of the last 17 winners of the Sony have played Wailea Country Club at least once prior?
Mm.
So we have 33 first-timers coming in this week, and the betting favorite, Ludwig, is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the last first-timer to come in and win was Russell Henley in his rookie year when he won, and of the 16 of the 17, he's the one that did it, right? But all the rest of them have played here before. Not to mention the fact that we've been doing this twofer since, what, like 1999? And over the last 20-plus years, 70% of the winners of the Sony played the Century the week before. Now, granted, the Century players are good players. They were
Mm-hmm.
your Tournament of Champions guys, but still, they're also a little warmed up, and they're going against a field of 144, which a third of them is guys that might be rookies from Korn Ferry or coming over from DP World Tour or something of that nature. Last 10 years, average winning scores 18 under par. And then for what we love to talk about on Tuesdays is the betting odds. And when you look at that over the last 5 years, that middle tier, that like 40 to 50 range, right? The last 5 years, your average winners pre-tournament odds are plus 4,700. Over the last 10 years, it's plus 4,900. So par four scoring, putting, I get it. Approach with the scoring clubs, wedge, 9, 8 iron, all of those things. But if your card, I feel like, doesn't match up to what I was just talking about there, I don't think you're going to be on the positive end by the end of come Sunday.
Yeah. Well, a couple of some first time players here. You mentioned, are we going with Oberg? Is that what it is?
Oberg.
See, when I had him on the podcast, that didn't register with me. That's not the way I felt like we were going to be going down with the last name. So we're going with Oberg. All right. Noted.
So I'm told.
Akshay, good week last week. This is his first time here.
Great work.
I'm excited to get Pearson Cootie out there. His first time there. Fitzpatrick, first time. Matthew Fitzpatrick. That's a big name, notable name here.
Yeah.
First time here, based off what you just said. Hatton.
Yep.
We talked about this last week a little bit. The first time at Kapalua, and we had a little back and forth going with Hatton and Fitzpatrick, and they tied, right? And I know you're watching that because we were texting back and forth on between.
Oh yeah,
and they tied T12, so we can leave that alone now. All right, Robert McIntyre, first time.
Yeah.
Justin Rose, you got to go way. I think you got to go a ways back. He's been here before.
Yeah, he had a run up about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
but he's played it like 4 times, but like 3 of them were before 2010. So
yeah. It's been a while. Will Zalatoris, Keith Stewart, is back in the field.
He is.
Yeah. Will Zalatoris, I am excited about that, is back in the field. So those are some names. Goddard, first time. I mean, those are just some names that you kind of look at who's been here, who hasn't. But certainly Fitzpatrick, Hatton, Oberg, Batia. You start looking at, do you stretch it and bet some of those? I mean, Hatton and Fitzpatrick are up there in some of your shorter odds. Something to think about as we get into the board. All right, let's get at it. A little something we like to kick off. We're looking at the board. A little first look. Take it.
The postman. Boom.
There he is.
All right. Everybody. Hey, here's the deal. All right. Everybody wants to talk about Matt Kuchar at the Sony, Matt Kuchar at Wailea, right? I give you Matt Kuchar 2.0 right there in front of you, right? They're built the same. They both live at Sea Island. They're both very above average ball strikers, and they're both great putters. Postman 5th last week at the Century. Word out of Sea Island is he's hitting the ball as his ball striking is as good as it's ever been. And we know right there, the flat stick. It worked, right? So for me, and of course his odds, if he starts the week at about 40 and he's already down to 33. So, I mean, people listen to us. That's part of what I'm saying. But also what I'm saying is that the world they can run their own models and spreadsheets and everything, and they could figure these things out. And, you know, the guy's good right now. I mean, he's been on a heater since what, 3M, that we've been betting him off and on, and this thing's going to pay off soon because JT Poston wins. He's got
Yep.
win equity. He can get the job done. And he's shown it before, and that's why I'm first clicking him.
Well, one of the things that we talked about back in July, you mentioned the 3M Open, was the improvement in his approach game. His iron
Yep.
game really got better, and he started to put up some good numbers, +5, +4, +5, +5, consistently. Lots of top tens there through the summer into the fall. Come back in the first there at the Century. Didn't hit the ball very good really didn't hit the ball good at all at the Century. Maybe a little bit of rust over the last couple months taken off, but got the ball up and down, putted good. Look, he comes over here to Honolulu, and he drives the ball like he did at Century, and he gets back to hitting his irons like he was. JT Poston can win. There's no doubt about it. So I'm with you. That's why I texted you. I said, okay, so what is your I had a feeling we might be kind of going down the same path, and we were. So I'm going to give you Poston. All right. But I'm going to go to Chris Kirk. I'm first look here. I'm going to Chris Kirk. And look, win equity, sign me up. I don't think this guy's going to be tired. I guarantee it. He went home, had a bowl of cereal, got some sleep, and it's all systems go. He's back at it. He's going to a course where he's got 2 top 3s in the last 3 years. Chris Kirk is hitting on all cylinders right now. He's just solid. He just drives the ball in front of him. I think his iron game, has been steadily improving. He was positive 2.5 there at Century, but the putter was on fire. It was on fire, positive 10. And look, I don't think he's going to go positive 10, nor do I think he needs to. But this is a great golf course for him. Forget about last week. This is a great course for him. Good iron player. Is a solid putter. I think he keeps the mojo going on these little slower Bermuda greens. And I think Chris Kirk, very good chance to go back to back.
Well, I'll tell you what, he shot 8 under on Sunday to win by 1. So as far as I'm concerned, and here's a guy, that doesn't do any of the extracurricular stuff. I mean, he's over there on vacation, yes, but he's there to go to work. I mean, that guy, if you want to trust a guy that's putting in the time in between the 2 weeks and he's not going to get distracted by, celebrating too much with his friends or whatever, like this has always been a good time of year for Chris Kirk. Sony, Amex, Pebble. I mean, these are the types of places. His wedge game is elite, beyond elite, and he's a good putter. So if you know that, and the guy can go nuclear scoring wise, I mean, he was just 50 under there at the Century. It's like, look at these places he's going. Average winning score here is 18 to 20 under par. So on a tight golf course, so he's gonna have to throw up another 23, 24 birdies to win this thing, because there'll be some bogeys this week. And
you know why he likes this place, Keith? One of the reasons why it sets up for his game, because he's not one of the longest, so he can keep it in front of him and let his wedge game go to work. But you mentioned those little right to left dog legs.
Oh, I mean, 4 of the last 5 off the tee, and the one that's not a right to lefter is the par 3 17th. So 14, 15, 16, and 18, all hard right to left dog legs, and he's a slinger. Right to lefter.
Who can hit that little patented baby draw? Something like we call Operation Baby Draw here. This boy can sling a little baby draw in there. Scott Hamilton is a longtime coach. Is going to be joining the podcast on Thursday. And I promise you, if you like breakdowns and you like the insight of how players train and you like coach speak, you won't want to miss this one. Scott's one of my favorites. And I've been exchanging texts with Scott, and you look at Chris Kirk on the bottom. That was 10 years ago, and you look at him at the top, and your initial eye, you'd be like, I'd have to kind of look a little closer to see what's going on there. But it's one of the things that you see with players that they clean up is how they turn and kind of get themselves stacked up, like the upper center, the top button, and the belt buckle, which is your lower center, the belt buckle. And you can see on the top left, like you can see that lower center kind of moves a little bit more to his right in the backswing, and that upper center stays a little bit more on top of it. And then in transition, when he falls, you can see those 2 points, upper center and lower center, are pretty much on top of each other. And then as he goes down and hits it, there's just a natural little side bend. When you look at the bottom and you start looking at that bottom from the left over there, just starting down in transition on the downswing, you can see how that lower body kind of slides out from underneath him a little bit more. And that seems like a subtle thing, but learning how to get your upper center and lower center to turn and get kind of stacked up and then get it a little bit like that in transition, all of those things matter in compression. And the one thing that Chris Kirk relies on is he hits what we call a trap draw. He'll use that little, he'll use his attack angle, hit down on it, trap it, path a little bit out to the right, body's rotating through, and it's just this consistent little, like, 3 yards to the right, drawing back 2 yards. I mean, it's just over and over and over again. So we'll get into that more with Scott, but this is an interesting little breakdown. And I think something that he's been learning on, he's been working on over and over. And you look at that, and he's like, wow, that took him 10 years. Well, that's just the simplicity that Scott kind of keeps it with Chris. And clearly it's worked as they've won 6 times together. Chris Kirk, I think, will keep the good putting going. 6 times. Yeah. 6 times. Xander's, your boy Xander's won 7. Yeah. So I'm just
Stop it. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not letting that gain any momentum this year.
Okay.
Not whatsoever.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I don't want Stefano hunting me down on tour out there.
So those are some first looks there. And of course, you got Oberg there at 16, Fitzpatrick at 18, and Hatton at 18. I mean, look at that. Those are 3 guys that have never played here before. Just what you said. Yeah. And those are the 3 shortest odds going into this. I'm passing on all 3.
Last 5 years, pre-tournament, average winner, plus 4,700. Last 10 years, it moves all the way to plus 4,900, right? We got to get in the middle of the board. And the reason we got to get in the middle of the board is because this is where the winner is going to come from. It's probably somewhere in the 30 to 60 range. And you got some names up in here that are going to cause a lot of conversation over the course. I mean, here we go. We're going to talk about Eric Cole. You've got Sahith coming off just a fantastic week for him. Ben On, right? He's off the suspension. Ben On had an incredible year last year. Got the long putter back out. Denny McCarthy, Harris English, Siwoo Kim, your defending champ. Brendan Todd, throwing clubs. But you know what? He's a perfect fit for this place. Justin Rose. I mean, right there in the middle, you have got, and all these guys are between like 35 and 50, right? There's a lot of names there. So for me, it's one of those things where Siwoo won this thing last year because he ball struck the heck out of it. And he was basically average at putting. So are we going to go down that road again? And are we going to say that like a Corey Connors or a guy like that could do that? Or are we going to stick with the putting modus operandi around this place? And is it going to be Eric Cole or Denny McCarthy or Harris English? Who are you buying and selling on here in the middle of the board?
Well, I'm going to sell on Thagala, who was in the mix last week. Last week, that course, much better for Sahith with the room off the tee. I'm going to pass here. I do like where Ben On is going. I do. I think good things are on the horizon for Ben On. Is it here? I don't know. I'm willing to take a top 20. You know how I feel about Denny. I'm going to pass here, though, even though he's a great putter. But I already played Harris English, and I like Harris here. I think Harris, we know, is a great putter. I think his ball striking is very, very close to getting back to what we have seen out of him when he was winning. We saw him win at Century, a couple years ago. And so I think, Harris has kind of worked through some things with his coach, Justin Parsons. I was texting with him, got changed up a couple things, a little sideways. I think they're past that now. I see good things coming from Harris English. I like him here in Hawaii at 40-1 if I had to kind of, where I did. But that's my guy in the middle of the board. If I had to go a second, this Andrew Putnam keeps staring at me. He's got the skill set here. I haven't bet him yet, but he's a guy that kind of fits here, doesn't he?
Oh, big time, for sure. I'll get back to Harris for a second, though.
Okay.
He's played there 11 times, 3 top 10s. Stroke average is just like a smidge over 68. It's a par 70. So, um, definitely fits the mold here for me. Georgia Bulldog has the win equity.
I think everybody went to Georgia at this point.
I
I mean,
I mean, if you're looking at like wins over the last 5 years, I mean, there's a ton of them. Now you got to hear one in the booth all the time too with Kisner.
yeah.
It's gonna be fun. But overall, everything about what Harris English was doing in the late fall, getting healthier, getting better.
Yep.
2023 wasn't nearly as good as 2022, but definitely a really talented guy and a guy that's perfectly suited for a place like this, especially with Bermuda grass greens and the way he puts it, and doesn't have to really stretch. Like you talked about Ben On briefly there. Ben On to me seems like a breakout guy for like farmers
Yeah.
because he's such a good
Mhm.
ball striker, but a power ball striker. And maybe the putter a la Zalatoris or Luke List doesn't need to be like perfect there, right? Whereas like, Ben On's going to have to go through the same blueprint that Siwoo went through last year. And I just don't see 2 years in a row of a guy that can't necessarily get super hot with the putter winning here. You go back through the list of all the people, Na and Smith, and it's they're mostly really good putters. Kuchar's another one, So I think I like where your head's at there. Yeah, I'm skipping over Thagala. Siwoo's not defending. Brendan Todd is interesting. Again,
Yeah.
the length of the golf course, he's a plotter. Look at the places he's won. A place like Mayakoba, which is very much like this. You got to put the ball in play off the tee. Don't have to be crazy long. You just have to be super positional, and then you got to be able to putt. So I'm with you on Harris there in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering, and here's another question for you: when is Eric Cole gonna win? Or is he gonna win?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, if Eric Cole drives it reasonably well,
Yeah.
reasonable, he can win here. There's no doubt. No doubt. Um, I worry a little bit off the tee with Eric here, though. But the rest of his game is so damn good.
Yeah.
So can he
Now
keep the ball in front of him? These right to left dog legs, a little concerning for me with him. But yeah, I think God, just based off his stats and watching him, I mean, it just feels like there's a win that has to happen. I passed on him here, and I'll tell you 2 names before I forget, because
go.
people that follow the show, they know I've been kind of pushing McCarthy out there to get his first win, and we almost got him there. We were close a couple times last year.
Yeah.
He scared the daylights out of me last week. He didn't look good at all. His iron game was a mess. And his putter was not good. And when Danny McCarthy's putter is not good, that's a red
Yeah.
flag. And the other one is Keegan Bradley. He didn't look good. Man, his putter just looked awful. So those were 2 guys I
Oh,
was looking at kind of coming in as we stretch down the board. Keegan's at 60. I think McCarthy's right around 40. Those guys scared me last week. And Cam Davis, I was big on him coming out. Do I go back? Do I jump back on him? I'm
tell me
probably
about it.
not. Probably
Yeah.
not going to. So Harris is my boy in the middle of the board, and I'm going to look pretty hard at Putnam too. We'll see.
I'm gonna tie a bow on the Eric Cole conversation for you, right? Everybody's Keith, how about the driver? How about getting the ball in play? He was runner up at the Zozo. That's a bowling alley.
Yeah.
And you got to be longer there than you need to be at YLA.
Yeah.
So let's just not discount Eric Cole because of the whole driver conversation consistently throughout the year. You get a shorter golf course where he can scramble a little bit, and he's primarily going to use his wedge game and his putter. I think he's going to be very relevant this week. And he's played there before, so we checked that box, and he played Century. So he's checked that box. The odds are right in that middle tier.
Yep. Yeah, you're
we're
getting a good
starting
number. Yep.
we're starting to find some trends here. Yeah, because he goes back to Cognizant or something, down there at PGA National, and then the guy's like a top 5 favorite. That's not Eric Cole's land. Eric Cole is a 35 to 70 guy, depending on what
Yep.
kind of event he's in, and that's where we're going to get him, and that's where we're going to double your pleasure. That's where we're going to hit it. Further down the board. So when you say Keegan's not good with the putter, that doesn't overly scare me because, you know, he's known for his ball striking. But when you say Denny's not good with the putter, you know, it's funny. I didn't pay much attention to Denny, and that's probably why last week because he
Yeah,
just
bad
wasn't
week.
relevant.
Bad. Yeah.
I just wasn't there. I bet him on Saturday head to head, and he lost badly. So I was happy with that, but yeah, he just wasn't. It just wasn't. And it was good. He was good at RSM, and he hadn't played all fall, so that's kind of a surprise. So I think that's a good cautionary tale there. Question for you, Akshay. Is this guy we have to pay attention to a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Because he's like in the 7K range down there for, you know, DraftKings. So he's 70-1, and I mean, yes, he didn't have a good Sunday, but I mean, he has this. If he's known for his ball striking, this is a ball striker's place. Yeah, you got to putt too. Maybe he's not the greatest putter, but 70-1 for Akshay.
Well, he was a good putter last week. He was positive 6 at Century.
Yeah.
Approach game pretty solid. You know, Akshay just feels like he's kind of got it all. There's something there about him. You know, he you watch him and he's impressive.
Yeah.
And
Very much so.
You know, he's there's some eye candy there. There's something there. Like when he's on the screen and you're watching him play golf, it's like that's it. You know, that's something different. You know, like that's not, in all due respect, that's not Ben Griffin. You know, that's not Kevin Kisner, who, in all due respect, right? Like it just looks different. It looks explosive, powerful. It looks like he's kind of tuning in the nuance and the precision. He's a young man, and he's learning courses. And so, yeah, I do think we're going to have to pay attention to him. Is he Oberg talented? Probably not. Probably not right now. But there's something there. I mean, 14th at the Century is a great start to the season. And this is a guy that, you know, when you look at his end of his season last year in the fall, this is a guy that was making every single cut. You know, the only cut he missed was Fortinet. That's it. And so he's making every single cut. He's playing the weekend. He's getting reps. He's in the fire. He's getting comfortable. And I just feel like all that's going to pay off. Is it here? I'm probably not going to go here for Akshay, but he's definitely, to answer your question, he's definitely someone to answer your question that we have to look at. I'll tell you the other one. Man, if there's anybody there's two guys that if they learn how to putt, they're going to be unbelievable.
I know where you're going here.
We talked about Scheffler, and I've already made my prediction of 6 wins. And the other one's Luke List. Okay, so if you're telling me Luke List is going to be an above average putter, and you're going to give me 100-1, then you're going to get my money.
Oh, he's my bomb for sure.
You're going to get my
100%. 100%. He was 17th in the field last week at Century with good players in putting. He was over a positive stroke putting. Hello.
I know.
Hello. Yeah. If that happens, you've got Sanderson Farms. You've got, I mean, and he's been like that all fall. You know, he is prototype for this place.
I know.
Because much like Ludwig, he could pull out the driver on a lot of these holes and just put it right down the middle. And then he's going to hit it to 12 feet, you know, all day. He just needs to make half of them, you know, and he's shown that he could do it right now, which is, and at that long number right now, he's on the board at 90-1. I mean, read the line. We had him when he won Farmers at 90-1. So for me, that is an eerily significant number. And one that
I bet him
gets a click. Yeah. Oh yeah,
I'm in
100%.
I'm in. Like I'm in. Luke Less. I'm looking at putting stats. I'm in. Okay. Wow. All right. That's all I need to see. All I need to see.
6 top 25s in his last 7 starts.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
As we keep pushing down, right? And
all right. Oh, we're going deep.
Yeah. And there's Billy Horschel at 100. You know, Griot, you know, is going to be feisty here, probably at 100.
Yeah.
Montgomery, surprising, was, I think, T12 here last year. Not going to bet him,
Yeah.
but he's kind of fallen off his game from where it was, I think, at the beginning of the year last year versus this year. Eckroat had a good outing here last year. He's at 125.
Yeah.
Alex Smalley, speaking of those that need to learn how to putt, 125. There's Davis Thompson, hoping that he could keep the Georgia Bulldogs' way of winning at some point this year, 150. And I need to mention Gary Woodland, who's back from brain surgery, at 150 to 1.
Yeah.
And I'm sure is going to have some rust. I'm sure is just happy to be out there competing. But we know Gary Woodland can strike the golf ball, and it'll be fun to see him get back out there and get his season going and feeling healthy in the whole bit. So we keep stretching down. Now we're getting into some of these guys that McIntyre, who's never played here before. Some of these other guys, Pendrith. I think Vincent Whaley. You mentioned Akshay. Do we need to pay attention to this guy week in and week out? We do. I think Whaley's going to work himself onto that board too. I really do. I think Whaley's.
Whoa.
Vincent Whaley's he's gonna work himself up the board here. I'm not going there this week, but I'm just saying he's a guy that I'm putting out there.
Well, he's been back and forth between Korn Ferry and PGA Tour over the last couple of seasons, so it would be nice for him to remain on the PGA Tour all season, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out this year, because where Akshay has a huge advantage last week and playing well in one of those signature events with a huge purse, that gives him an edge over the Vince Whaleys of the world as far as getting closer and closer to that top 50 and getting into more signature events, right? Versus Vince has got to do something like top 10 here and then top 10 at Amex, in order to even get close to that Aon top 5 or whatever is the next thing that gets you into like Pebble and then Genesis. And I mean, because they're going to have all this upward and downward movement for that bottom like 10 to 15%. So that's an interesting call, and it'd be interesting to see how the schedule plays out into all that too.
Yeah, I get that. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in the first couple. I'm just saying that I think I like the direction of Whaley. I like the fall that I saw from him. I know he's not there yet, but I think he is a guy that is going to get there. And I like his game. I think he's moving in the right direction. Like to your point, he's been up and down, on the tour, so he kind of knows what he's up against. And I think this time around it can be very different for him. Now, my guy last year that I mentioned was Davis Thompson. He showed some signs, but I think in all for intents and purposes, Davis Thompson last year probably didn't feel great about his season. I kind of expect a little more out of him, especially how great of a driver he is of the ball. I thought got a great head on his shoulders, but look, it doesn't always happen right out of the gate. Sometimes you have to get knocked down a little bit and get back up, and you go down, play a few Korn Ferry Tour events, and then come back up, and these kinds of things. So it's the way it is in professional sports, not just golf. We've seen it in other sports too. So, but yeah, so I think he's a guy to look at. Another guy that just kind of fallen down the board, going the other way. That, gosh, is he going to get it back? Is Davis Riley, and where is Maverick McNeely? I mean, these are a couple guys. These are a couple guys, Keith, and I'll finish here because now we're down in the 200 to 1. But these are a couple guys that tinkered with their swings and went down a path and just it didn't work out. It didn't work out. They went backwards. And so where are these guys at, coming into the season? I'm not going to bet them this week. But I think where Akshay's on the way up, I think Whaley's on the way up. You've got a couple other guys that we've seen up there. Davis Riley, of course, played last week because he won where he won in Zurich. Yeah,
team event.
Team event. But where are those guys at? To me, they're kind of on the way down.
Well, I think that McNeely's coming off the extended medical break, but he's a guy that has to press early this year because he needs to earn a certain amount of points or money or however that works out, or I don't know, sponsorship, whatever's. But he's got to press early, and this is a good spot for him. You don't have to be super long. You got to be a good putter. Mav fits all of that if he's up and running. down there at the bottom of the board, there's a name that's going to pop up a lot. You're going to hear. So, we're going to jump into that pool too. And that's Hayden Buckley. He's played good here 2 years in a row.
Nope.
One of the reasons why is that the guy stripes it off the tee. So when you go to places like here or, Hilton Head or something like that, you're going to see the Hayden Buckleys of the world show up because he's going to consistently put himself in play and there's not going to be a lot of pressure there. One name for me down near the bottom.
Let me guess.
And here's a guy. You were. Go ahead.
Badly.
No.
Badly. Okay.
No. But not an American. So you're close there. But a young guy. He won last year. And all fall, I've been kind of playing this guy in head-to-head matchups. And he's really good at scoring on weekends. And that to me has always been a sign of like, all right, there's getting through the cut, and that means you belong. But then you get on the weekend, and a lot of the guys, they throw out the anchor and they kind of slow down because they're not your top 30 guys on the leaderboard type of guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one person I would keep an eye on early in the season here, and he's been trending all fall, is Nico at Chavaria, right? Just keep an eye on him for me. Right. He's probably a good top 40 play this week. I'll definitely be looking at him live. But last year, he finished 12th here. And he's had a reasonably good fall for a guy that nobody knows. So it's easy for us to go, oh, yeah, Luke List, or, oh, yeah,
yep.
These names that, you start pulling out these names. But like, where's the next Eric Cole coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And, we've mentioned some people that could be candidates, right? But when I look at the trends of how guys play, and when then, I also saw them at Sea Island, I also need to see them live. And, I'm out there all the time and I'm going to be traveling soon. And as the both tours get going and we get back to the mainland, I saw him play and I was it was like when I saw Oberg hit it at Sea Island for the first time live. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this is good, right? But Nico was impressive to me. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know the guy who took that video.
Oberg.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Not Aberg.
Yeah.
Oberg. There he is. Face on. Now, Nico's, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And Nico, he's 400-1, and so is Kisner, 400-1.
This isn't a win pick. We're at that time of year where it's very difficult to handicap. We're using a lot of trends, folks, in order to come away with a positive card. I did it last week. We're going to do it again this week, but we're going to do it by relying upon, looking at all of these things that we looked at all fall, because you just can't make all your money on Scotty Scheffler because, first of all, you're not going to get the odds. And second of all, he's not here this week. So who are we going to grab? And
right.
Webb Simpson and Matt Kuchar aren't walking through that door forever. We need to find new versions of those guys at this place. And we've given you plenty of them today.
Good stuff. Yeah, really good show. We'll finish with this. How'd Kiz do in the booth? You in? You out? I saw your tweet. You got a little pushback there from.
Oh, God. Well, that didn't have to do with Kisner, but
no.
I was so pumped up hey, I'm a golf geek, folks. So you make fun of me all you want, but my life has all been revolved around golf. I just love it, right? It's been good to me. I was scrubbing hooks when I was like 14 years old, 13 years old, just loving being at the golf course. So when I'm all fired up and ESPN Plus comes on and Andy North is the analyst, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, give me Travis Fulton. Give me anybody with some energy, right? Now, Andy North is a fantastic human being and he's a wonderful golf storyteller, but I just need more these days, right? And then at the same time, we got this guy, Jersey Jerry, who's got tens of thousands of people watching him in a live stream that's not on any cable network that anyone at the Villages can find, right? The guy's just streaming this thing. And for 37 hours, 100 plus, score golfer is captivating the whole golf world. And I'm saying to myself, we got Andy North and we got Jersey Jerry. Like, can somebody give me something in between? And so I sent that tweet out just to say, hey, and you know what? Kisner is the connective tissue. And I thought that
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job being respectful of the post. It was obvious to me that he was learning a lot and he took that very seriously.
Mhm.
And NBC's plan this year is that they're going to do 3 or 4 different guys for 4 to 5 weeks each, and then they're going to make an announcement at the end of the year. So he's one of them. Jeff Ogilvy's another, who's another very thoughtful guy. Luke Donald's another. I don't know if they decided on the 4th and the 5th one, but NBC's going to roll these guys out, and they're going to give us an opportunity to hopefully make some changes and liven things up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
No, I think
nothing would
it's
be
the right
better.
direction. It's the right direction, no doubt.
And answer your question, 1 to 10 kids the first week. I'll give them 7.5,
Yeah,
which is a
I think
very
that's
good
fair.
score. I'll
I
give
think
them a
that's fair.
solid B.
Yeah,
And
I think that's fair.
yeah,
We're everybody's thirsty. I don't want to jump into like just because he's new. I think he's going to get better as it goes, and you give him a little
yeah.
runway. And so, yeah, I think 7.5, 8 is right there. So I like the direction. Try new things, liven it up a little bit, and well, Chris Kirk comes away with his 6th win and probably his 7th, as I predicted.
Ooh.
In Honolulu. All right, he's Keith Stewart at Read the Line. Thank you for being here. We'll be back next Tuesday. Thursday, Scott Hamilton. Don't miss it. Deep dive instruction with one of the best. See you.
Aloha.
Yes, sir.